Have you ever prepared for success only to be smacked down by failure? Of course, that's probably a pretty silly question because we all have. Well, when it comes to delivering presentations, I thought I was impervious to failure until recently. I came face to face with this, I don't know, dreaded arch enemy. I'll tell you a few things my audience told me. Come on in. We'll have ourselves a pocket sized pep talk.
A Pocket Size Pep Talk, the podcast that can help energize your business and your life with a quick, inspiring message. Now, here's your host, Rob Jollis.
The other day, I delivered a program that wasn't exactly my best program, not even close. Now, it wasn't due to a lack of preparation or a lack of effort, but I was faced with obstacles every move I made. I won't bore you with the details, but my favorite obstacle was I actually was leaving a breakout room and accidentally got locked out of my entire meeting. Suffice to say, this presentation was a clunker. And there were so many unexpected problems. I found myself apologizing way too often and excessively. I was supposed to teach this audience how to sell. I was supposed to be the pro. I was supposed to be as close to perfect as I possibly could be. Instead, I felt like I failed them and myself, and I carried the emotions of a defeated warrior. In my mind, the only thing I was teaching that audience was how to fail. And that's when the audience stepped up and began teaching me a few things. Started when various comments in the chat area began to appear. They were clearly trying to cheer me up. But I was bound and determined to keep reminding them just how disappointed I was. Well, we can add that little move to my long list of amateur mistakes, because the last time I looked, making an audience feel sorry for you can seriously demotivate the audience. But the conversation turned, and it turned in a really beautiful way. As unmuted participants' voices entered the conversation, I started hearing things like, Rob, it's really not necessary to keep apologizing for these issues. We deal with disappointment every day. And then one person said, could we spend a moment and talk about how you cope with failure? Failure? I thought we were talking about selling, but it was a legitimate question. And particularly at that moment, it deserved an honest answer. And so that's where the conversation pivoted. And I thought to myself, okay, how do I deal with failure? And I reminded them and me that stuff happens. It happens to everyone. And not if, but when it does, it presents a moment to shine. Failure may be an unwelcome guest, but it can't be feared. It has to be faced with courage and the resolve to fight harder. And I reminded them and me that whenever we do something that involves risk, we're at a more vulnerable position. We're more vulnerable to the possibility of failure. Now, rather than hide from it, we need to plan for it. The more contingency plans we have in place, the quicker we can pivot off of failure and plow forward. I reminded them and me that wisdom comes from failure. We all dream of a life without failure, but honestly, how realistic is that? What's more, how fun would that be? We absolutely learn volumes more from failure than we do from success. How could we not? The lessons are clearer and longer lasting. And those failures contribute to our ability to acquire true wisdom. So many people, including me, are so busy trying to impress people with the perfection of our given tasks that we forget that the best way to impress people is far, far simpler than that. We need to show people we're human. We need to show people we're humble. We need to show people that we bleed just like they do. I was supposed to be teaching an audience the power of selling, and instead, I was teaching them the power of failure. It seemed the attendees apparently enjoyed the session more than I did. I received multiple comments about how much they liked the information on selling, but many more comments saying they loved the information on the discussion of failure. So the moral of that moment is tailor-made for one of my favorite quotes from Robert Louis Stevenson. And he wrote, "The most beautiful adventures are not those we go to seek."
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, please rate and recommend it on iTunes, Outcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get more information on this show and Rob at jollis.com.